Now, the situation at British borders has been embarrassing for some time now. Even the last couple of days, at the weekend, we had almost 1,000 people coming into the country illegally. That was over 800 people who came Saturday and Sunday. Absolute chaos as usual. But we had the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, a while ago, quite recently actually, coming out to say, well, actually, we should celebrate because the numbers have gone down. Basically, for about half an hour, the number of boats coming into the country went down because the weather was bad. Rishi Sunak said, well, actually, it's because we are winning the battle. No, now we can see the evidence. But this video is not about that. This video is about a huge defeat for the Prime Minister over his idiotic effort into sorting out the migrant crisis. Now, they have so many policies, and it's not just the Rwanda plan, that's one of them that still hasn't started yet. It's all these other things. You've got the cruise ships and barges. You've got the military bases being used as accommodation. You've got so many. You've got the agreements with France. You keep still paying them more money for them to stop the people smugglers. Now, this is about another defeat for this Prime Minister. So, he wanted to use another massive ship near Liverpool to house only a few hundred migrants. I mean, firstly, put aside what we think of these policies of using certain locations, whether it's military bases or a ship or whatever. So some people in certain areas don't like it, don't want it. Some people say, well, let's just use somewhere. Even if you ignore that for a second, it's completely pointless because any of these sites that they are announcing, and they're announcing of like some sort of victory, oh yeah, we found another solution, they can only contain a few hundred people. Now, we had, as I said, over 800 people coming in Saturday and Sunday. We've already had tens of thousands of people who've been coming here over the last couple of years. So what's the point? Even if you go ahead using one of these ships, for example, or a military base, you're going to house 500 people and celebrate? So this thing near Liverpool has now been blocked by the port controllers and operators. It's mostly Peel Port in charge of this. They came out and said, well, it was dependent on the necessary support from the local agencies. Last week, we simply observed that we could not see any conceivable scenario where the local agencies are going to be able to provide the necessary support to make this solution work. Peel Ports remains committed to fulfilling its full statutory obligations to provide access to any vessel, provided that it can do so safely and securely, and it has the available infrastructure. But clearly, that is not the case. At this moment, we know there's no point in trying to argue with Downing Street because they're going to completely ignore all these calls that we are having. We're sending them all these messages saying, well, maybe you should change course. But they are so committed to taking this massive risk and gamble for this summer to see the first flight to Rwanda, for example. And at the end of the day, all I can say is if that fails again, they're going to throw Suella Braverman under the bus. So if I were Suella, I would just resign now, or the moment I know the whole project is going to fail again, and just become a rebel. Do not be associated with this government. If it doesn't work, then it's not going to work. It doesn't matter how patient you are as Home Secretary. You have all these obstacles. You cannot do your job properly. So Downing Street came back and said, this is why we continue to source new alternative sites and vessels to accommodate migrants and remain committed to working closely with all councils and key partners across the country to manage the impact of using these sites. I mean, just think about this for a second. You listen to those words that I just said. You can see them on the screen. These are just words. They're just saying things. None of that makes sense. Well, this is why we have a plan to sort out the economic crisis and migrant crisis and cost of living crisis. You're just using words now. This is not really coherent. It makes no sense. What's the plan? Do we have any plan? So this is the update on this. And we are going to keep the pressure on the government and on the whole of the establishment to do something about this, even if they have to lose the election and see what happens with Keir Starmer. God help us all. But the next video, I'm going to come back in half an hour. We're going to talk about a similar topic, but because it's Refugee Week, and the wokies are taking advantage of this to brainwash our kids in schools. And later tonight, I think about 8 p.m, we're going to have a live stream with you guys, we have a special exclusive interview with Andrew Bridgen, the only MP for Reclaim Party. And also, don't forget, we've started the campaign now. Look at that screen. 48 days. I've set myself a target to reach 300,000 subscribers. With your support, we currently have 290,000-ish. So we need about less than 10,000 to go. If we reach 300,000 subscribers together, then what we can do is we're going to throw a party. We're going to celebrate, all of us. And all I need from you guys is to make sure if you are watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, do it. And of course, share the channel on the video with all your friends and neighbors and family members to make sure they are watching us, not TV. TV is dead. Why? Because we are the media.